Hi, this is Steve Lentini, and I'm your host for the podcast, Different Thinking for Different Times. This is season 3, episode 33. Here's a couple of quotes. I'd like to start with them. Here's one from Ernest Holmes. The spiritual nature of the universe, God, mind, intelligence, from all viewpoints, science, philosophy, and religion, always was, always is, and always will be, without beginning and without end, eternal, immortal, timeless. If we are a creation of that which is eternal and immortal, if we are a creation of God and God is what we are, can what we are be other than immortal and eternal? Even Albie agrees. You could hear him barking in the background. So remember that we're eternal. We live forever. We just don't live in this form forever. As I've said on previous episodes, 1 second in intensive care, the next second, just a knowing that I was one with everything and nothing. So fascinating. Words do not even describe it. And when people try to enroll you in fear, that's only because they have the small minded, limited acorn brain thinking that I also talk about. We have to break through that. That's our job in our body. And by the way, that small minded, limited acorn brain thinking doesn't go with you. It doesn't go with you. It wasn't there with me when I was on the other side, when I was in what's next, as I call it. There was only one with the infinite. That's all. I had an immediate knowing. Words don't describe it. And the fact that only the good I had done flashed before me, despite all the different religions and religious leaders, even to this day, preaching that thou shalt burn in hell because they found it in the Bible. But as I said, the truth is in the Bible. It's in there somewhere, but never blindly follow anything or anyone. Just know you're infinite. And you can ask anyone else that's been on the other side, because there are more and more people that are experiencing it. They call it a near-death experience. They all say it's hard to describe, that it's way beyond our own thinking. And our job is to do good and expand. So here's the author of this month's guides in the Science of Mind, and he says our nature is to expand in greater and greater ways of expressing what we are, spirit. We do this work to recognize and be more internally aware of our truth for the purpose of living that truth externally. This is why God is quoted in the Bible in Matthew chapter 7, verse 20, by their fruit, in parentheses, actions, you will recognize them. We are also reminded, you see, faith by itself isn't enough unless it produces good deeds. It is dead and useless. James chapter 2, verse 17. So the truth is in the Bible, but to accept it just verbatim, it denies that it was written by humans who had small-minded acorn brain thinking. And yes, they were enrolled in anger and vengeance, and they attributed that to God, the infinite, the creator. What created this miracle? If you believe that, fine. I don't deny your belief. That's fine. Just remember, does it sound like small-minded thinking? Does it sound small-minded? If it sounds small-minded, it's not what made this miracle that we live in. There were no sexes, no religions, no nationalities, no mention of anything small-minded. Just the good I had done That's all that flashed before me. And that, to this very day, November 18th, it'll be 19 years, stays with me like it was a minute ago. But you have to prove that to yourself. Don't believe me. Don't believe anyone. As I said, we're all full of shit somewhere, which is my upcoming podcast starting November 1st. It's another podcast where I'll be interviewing people, and we'll kick back and kick around and discuss all the places we humans are full of shit. And each of us have to admit it. We have to come to the place where, as John Maxwell says, we get over ourselves. And doing good, how do you feel when you do good? And making others wrong so you can be right. We see so much evidence of how negative it is, especially from our own political leaders who want people to behave better when they don't. They don't model that behavior when they just make others wrong. Most of the average population doesn't know where the truth is anymore, sadly. I hope some of our congressional leaders and politicians get to hear this recording. They're certainly going to hear it. I'm going to invite some on in my new podcast. And this podcast will continue, by the way. I'm also writing the book Sage Advice, Wisdom Throughout the Ages. And there's a theme from Socrates and the Kabbalah and Lao Tzu all the way up to modern day philosophers, but all through the ages, men and women who have found this same thread without reporting they had a near-death experience. They had a knowing that we just waste time making others wrong and railing against things that are just none of our business. Other people's journey are none of my business. And I say they're none of yours. It's enough of a job to manage myself and keep changing myself, keep expanding my thinking, because I have the acorn brain too, as I've confessed in other episodes. And certainly I've made mistakes during my life and paid for them here with the consequences here. And that's what occurs in a cause and effect world. But small-minded humans want people to burn in hell forever, in addition to paying in a cause and effect world. But what's next is not cause and effect, folks. At least in my experience. Maybe you won't experience that. I hope you don't experience what's next or death before the end of this podcast. I wish you a long life. But at some point, we have no control. We don't have an expiration date stamped on our ass or on our forehead. We don't have a use by date. Just live in the moment. Google the God of Spinoza, where he talks about, in the 1650s, he wrote that, the God of Spinoza. Baruch Spinoza, later changed his name, Benedict Spinoza. Either one you Google, you will get his writings, which are amazing. Just live. You don't have to do anything to be in the divine. That's all there was on the other side. There was no question about it. It was just, that's what was, because there was only the now, which left me with that lesson. Searching for God is a waste of time. It's in every moment that shows up, because if the creative force, the life force, God, the divine, the goddess, doesn't matter what you call it, the Muhammad, the Christ, the Abraham, the Buddha, if whatever you call this life force took its attention off the universe, it would cease to exist. And that's why you pay attention to the now. But the acorn brain says only the stuff you love. If it doesn't fit, you rail. The acorn brain says, wow, this person is upsetting you, or this person is worth getting upset over. But the miracle is they're showing you some part of you. They're showing you where you can grow. There's a gift in every moment. The Huawei principle in the Tao Te Ching, which Lao Tzu wrote in the 600 BCs, 4 to 600 BC, it's estimated, No one alive that I know of has lived with Lao Tzu. But he said that the Huawei principle was to not push. But he didn't say not to do anything, but to know when you get resistance, it's the universe, it's a gift urging you to do something different. Acceptance would be one thing if a person bothers you or events are bothering you or they don't match your picture, maybe it's the universe redirecting you. Or perhaps even showing you how you're like someone that makes you angry. Perhaps it's a mirror principle. Google that, the mirror principle. But all of life, as I know now, is a gift in every moment, and especially the moments that bug me because that's where I'm getting the invitation to overcome my small minded acorn brain thinking. And you can do the same. But I urge you to prove it to yourself. Don't take my word for it or anyone's word. Never blindly follow anything or anyone. Any questions? Email me, steve@stevelentini.com. That's steve@steve. L is in Linda, E-N. T is in Tom, INI.com. If you'd like to come on the show, I'd love to have you on this show, on this podcast. And look for my new book, Sage Advice, or you can email me and pre-order it. It should be out the first quarter of next year. There's a lot of work going into it. Thank you again. If you'd like to support my efforts, feel free. The information's here, right here on Anchor FM. Thank you.